Thank you so much, Pastor Evan Willis. Evan Willis. Pastor Willis, God bless you and God bless you all. It's a blessing to be here tonight. My task is to give us some insight on the history of black preaching. But before I do that, Pastor, I just have to recognize my church family that came over with us. Parkwood, God bless you. Would you just stand and be recognized this evening? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you. Across the street, across the aisle, across the hall, we're still sisters and brothers. In Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. The history of black preaching, and I think I have probably about 4 or 5 minutes. Amen. 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 There's been a lot of false depictions of the heart of black preaching, one of which highlights the slave preacher that served as a parrot of the slave master, encouraging the sons and daughters of the African diaspora to be faithful to their masters. While some preachers parroted and believed this heretical message, the heart of black preaching rose from the invisible institution, also known as the outlawed black church, which transpired unbeknownst to the slave masters. This showed the genius of the African Christian mind, because they would bring pots filled with water to absorb the noise of their worship. They also highlighted their faith because although they drowned out their worship from their masters, they still knew that Yahweh could still hear. While worship was rich and the songs ministered to their souls, there was nothing more significant than the preaching moment. It was at the preaching moment that the often illiterate, the preacher, would embody their sermon. He or she would pull from the memory of the sacred text and bring intimate words of life and challenge the body of the believers to keep the faith, to walk in righteousness, and to highlight the hope of a better day. This better day was not merely the second coming of Jesus Christ, but the day of the end of own slavery. Not only was black preaching a homiletical approach that was useful for encouragement, but it was weaponized against social oppression. Preachers such as Nat Turner weaponized their preaching to motivate the downtrodden African slaves to stand up and revolt against the oppressive systems of owned slavery. The spirit of black preaching did not die on the plantation, but it lives on in the hearts of the children of diaspora. It cried out in the Caribbean, in the North, and in Canada. The spirit of black preaching resonated with black theologian Howard Thurman as he recalled his grandmother's recount of hearing from a slave preacher that you are not a slave, but you are a child of God. The spirit of black preaching howled through the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as he proclaimed to everybody, free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty. I'm free at last. The spirit of black preaching still bellows from the pulpits across the globe, empowering black men and women, young and old, as they preach truth and power. It's still alive today, my brothers and sisters, and causes men and women to cry out against injustice in the land. Not to leave the downtrodden hopeless, the spirit of black preaching celebrates all that God has done. It it celebrates all that God is doing. Somebody ought to pray. And it's celebrating all that God will do. Are there any expecting people in this house? Yeah. The spirit of black preaching cannot be quenched. No, it cannot be extinguished. For as long as there is injustice in the land, there is a necessity for its existence. Today, it is crying out. Tonight, it will cry out again through the voices of 4 very prominent preachers. Yeah, it will cry out tonight, and it will fill these anointed vessels. It will reach from the choir loft. You've already heard it. And it will overflow in this room. It will move your heart and your mind. So when it cries out tonight, yeah, we ought to respond with a loud voice. When it cries out tonight, we ought to shout amen. When it cries out tonight, somebody ought to say hallelujah. When it cries out tonight, somebody ought to say thank you, Jesus. And I say tonight, cry out, Holy Spirit. Keep on hollering. Let the word come forth and allow the power of God to resonate in our hearts and our minds. Let the word of God come through these powerful preachers. Let it come on out and keep on crying until heaven rejoices. Let it come on out until history begins to speak. Let it cry out the more and tell